Hey guys, it's Mrs. Barker for those of you that don't know me. We are going to be working on the combining like terms to solve equations. So if you haven't pulled up the Google slide that's in your Google Classroom that looks like this, and that is called Combining Like Terms to Solve Equations Review, then I need you to pause this video and go pull it up. That way you can follow along with us and solve with us, okay? Once you've got it pulled up, then go ahead and join us right back here. All right, you guys, we are going to be reviewing and looking at what it means to combine like terms when we're solving equations. So we were looking at two-step equations where we just had to add or subtract a number and then multiply or divide at the end. And then and then we looked at distributing and actually distributing a number and then finishing solving the equation. But sometimes when we go to solve the equation, we're going to have a situation like this, where we've got more than one variable in the equation or expression, and we need to combine them together. So we need to just review what these are. We have two different types of terms that we're looking at. We have our variable terms that I'm going to put in boxes, and we have our constant terms that I'm going to put in a circle. Our variable terms are the terms that have a letter with them, and our constants don't have a letter with them. They're just plain numbers. So over here, I'm going to box my variable, circle my constant, box my variable term, and circle my constant. The reason that I'm putting these in boxes and circles is because I want to visually see the difference. You cannot combine the boxes with the circles. So over here, we could not combine this 6M with this 6. That would not be 12M. These are two different types of candies. One is Skittles, one is M&Ms. You cannot combine them together to count them as the same candy, okay? We cannot combine our variable terms with our constant terms. So I like to visually put boxes and circles around them to make them different so I can tell, okay, I need to combine my variable terms together and I need to combine my constant terms together and not combine variables with constants, okay? So we're going to come on down and we're going to practice actually solving this, okay? And we're going to practice looking at what this looks like. Okay, so right here, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put boxes around my variables and circles around my constants. It doesn't matter what shape you do. It doesn't matter if you put a circle around the variables and a box around the constants. That doesn't matter. You just need to have the same shape around the variables and a different shape around the constants. This then tells me that I can combine these together. Now, sometimes it's tricky to combine them when they're not next to each other. You could just draw lines to combine them together if you would like, but sometimes that's a little bit difficult. So what I like to do is use the commutative property of addition and move the boxes and circles around so all the boxes are next to each other and all the circles are next to each other, meaning all the variables are next to each other and all the constants are next to each other. Now, if you notice, when I put a circle or a box around these different terms, I made sure to include that sign. The reason I did that was because when I go to move these numbers around, I have to take that sign with me. That tells me what to do with this 7. When I go to combine this 7 with this 6 over here, it tells me that I have to subtract it. I can't just magically add it. I have to subtract it. So when you go to put your boxes in circles, make sure that you include the sign that is to the left of the term, or the sign that is in front of the term, reading left to right. Okay, I'm going to move my terms together. So starting with, I'm going to put my boxes first. So I've got my M right there. Okay, I've already put that one in. That's a circle, so I'm not going to put that down there yet. This is a box, so I'm going to add that one next. Plus 6M. Okay, I did that one. Next, I'm going to jump into my circles. My first circle was minus 7, so I'm going to put that there. And then my last circle was plus 6, so I'm going to put that there. So now if I was to box and circle again, you can see that my boxes are next to each other and my circles are next to each other. So now I can just combine them together. So I just do M plus 6M which this is an imaginary 1. Remember, there's an imaginary 1 here. 1m plus 6m gives me 7m. Negative 7 plus 6, put that in your calculator. Those negatives are always tricky, and you should get negative 1. So we've got 7m minus 1, okay? All right. That's my whole answer. There's no equal sign. This is just an expression, so that's all I can do to combine them together. All of my M&Ms got put in the same bowl. All of my Skittles got put in the same bowl. I can't combine anything else, so that's my answer. 7m minus 1. Now, what if there was an equal sign like this? Sometimes there is going to be an equal sign, and so we're going to have to actually solve for the variable. But I can see here to start off, I've got more than one variable. So the very first thing I want to do is put my boxes around my variables and put my circles around my constants. That tells me I don't have any other constants that I need to combine with this circle, but I do have 2 boxes or 2 variables that I need to combine together. So I just need to think, okay, what is 4p plus 2p? Well, if I have 4 ponies and I add 2 more ponies to that set, I have 6 ponies. So 6p. Then I just bring down my equal sign. I haven't touched that 6, so I'm just going to bring it down right next to that. Now I've combined all my boxes together and all my circles together, but this time there's an equal sign in the middle. Since there's that equal sign in the middle, I have to do my final step in solving the equation, okay? Just like when I've got this laid out right here. Sorry, I put this on the wrong line. That's a tilted line. But I have to still keep my equal sign in the middle, keep my terms separated, but I need to get this 6 away from this p. I have to get that variable by itself. Because it's being multiplied, I have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So I'm going to divide by 6. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I divide it by 6 over here. And 6 divided by 6 gives me 1. So I'm left with p equals 1. All right. Fantastic. I want you to try and do this one on your own. This is an example of what this one is very similar to. Start off by combining your like terms here. And once you've combined your like terms together, go ahead and finish out the rest of your steps, okay? This should have text boxes so you can put in your answers just like before. I want you to go ahead and pause the video. Pause where you're at. That way you can work through this on your own and then come back once you've tried it, once you either finish it or get stuck, and I will go through it with you. So go ahead and pause the video if you haven't yet. All right. Now that you've paused the video and you worked, you should be back. The very first thing I need to do is I need to combine my like terms together, okay? That's the very first thing that I'm looking at. I'm looking at what terms I need to combine together. Alrighty, let's go ahead and let's combine these like terms together. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put boxes around my variables, circles around my constants. That way I can tell what I have to combine together. Looks like these are my variables that I need to combine together. So I need to do 5x plus 2x. I don't have any constants that I need to combine together. This is going to be, these are my variables. These are my constants. I don't have any constants that I need to combine together. So I just leave my 5x plus 2x equals, and I'm left with over here, negative 21. What is 5x plus 2x? Well, it's 7x. So I have 7x equals negative 21. All right. I only have one step to do from here. The step that I'm going to do is just to get this x by itself. I have to get the 7 away from the x. So the way that I do that is I do the opposite of multiplication, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 7 over here. That turns that into 1. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So then I do negative 21 divided by 7, and that should have ended you with negative 3. So the solution is x equals negative 3. If you have any questions, maybe comment in your Google slide or make a text box and type your questions out for your teacher, okay? Let's move on to the next one. Now we need to, again, when we're looking at these terms, there's a lot of terms, okay? Let's separate them, boxes and circles. That way I know what I need to combine. Okay, I'm going to put a box around my negative 6k, circle around this constant, circle around this constant, making sure to keep the sign inside the circle. That way I know what to do, and circle around my last constant. This time I only have one M&M. I only have one variable term, but I have 3 other terms that I need to combine together, okay? So I'm going to combine these together. All right, so the very first thing I'm going to look at, I just get to keep this negative 6k by itself, and then I need to combine this negative 2 with this negative 7, so negative 2 minus 7 right here, and that's equal to 21. I highly recommend you put this in your calculator. Those negatives are so tricky. Just put it in your calculator, okay? And you should get negative 2 minus 7 should end up giving you negative 9. So we're left with negative 6k minus 9 equals 21, okay? Now from here, again, I am going to box and circle. That way I can see what I still have left to do. Now I'm down to a 2-step equation. This is what we were doing the other day. All you need to do here is get this 9 away from the k. The way that we turn this spot into 0 is to do the opposite of subtraction, which is addition. So you're going to add 9 here to make 0. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So you do 21 plus 9, and you end up with 30. So we have negative 6k equals 30. All right, you guys, we're down to that final step. All we need to do is get this negative 6 away from the k. The way that I do that is I do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So I'm going to divide. I divide by negative 6. I do want to keep that negative with me when I divide because that's going to make this turn into a positive k. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I divide by negative 6 over here, and I'm left with k equals 30 divided by negative 6 gives you negative 5. Awesome. Okay, pause this video. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Fill in those boxes, fill in those text boxes, and as soon as you've finished, come on back and I will go over it with you. All right, you should have paused the video and done that on your own. If you haven't yet, pause it and do it now. Once you've tried it on your own, let's go over this one together. Okay, very first thing that I like to do, just to help me, is put a circle around my constants, boxes around my variables. That way I know what I'm combining together. All right, just like the problem above, I only have one variable term. I just have negative 8m, but I have 2 constant terms, so I need to put those over here and I need to combine them together. 5 and then my plus 2. And then this is equal to over here negative 1. So I don't have any variables that I need to combine inside of here, but I do have constants I need to combine inside of here. 5 plus 2 gives you 7. So you should have been left with 7 right here. I take my negative 8 and stick it right there in front of that. I'm okay to put a plus sign in front of this 7 because I ended with a positive 7. And so that means that I need to go up 7, so I need to add 7 to my negative 8m. And over here, I'm left with negative 1. All right, from here, I've got 2 circles I need to combine just like in 2-step equations. So I need to move these numbers away from the variable. First, I'm going to move the number, but that's by itself. And I need to turn its spot into 0. How do I turn a positive 7 into 0? I subtract. So I subtract 7 right here to turn this into 0. I have to subtract 7. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I do negative 1 minus 7. I hope you put that in your calculator or that you were very careful when you did it because of those negatives, and you should have ended up with -8. So you're left with -8m equals -8. Okay. All right, one final step. I've already got all my M&Ms on one side, all my Skittles on the other side. My variables are together. My constants are together. All I need to do is get this -8 away from the m. And the way that I do that is by doing the opposite of multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide. So I divide by -8 over here, and that turns into 1. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I divide by -8 over here as well. -8 divided by -8 gives me 1. So I'm left with m equals 1. Awesome. If you have any questions, go ahead and make a text box. Add them in for your teacher, and then we'll move on to the next one. All right. We're just going to keep going. Very first thing I'm going to do is box and circle. That way I know what I'm looking at. This helps me see. Okay, now that I've put all my variables in boxes and all my constants in circles, I can see that I have 2 variables that I need to combine together and 2 circles that I need to combine together. But I need to start by combining these variables that are on the same side. I don't want to try and combine anything that's across sides of the equal sign yet, okay? So I'm going to put my variables in one area. So here are my variables, and here are my constants. On this side of the equation, I have 2 variables. I've got v, and I've got plus 7v. So I'm going to put those together. Then I'm going to keep this constant right here, plus 7 equals, and over here I've got -1. So the only thing that I need to combine so far, because I'm not worrying about anything on this other side of the equal sign, are my variables. So I just need to do v plus 7v. Remember, there's an invisible 1 in front of here. So 1v plus 7v gives me 8v. So I'm left with 8v plus 7 is equal to -1. Awesome. I should be down to my 2-step equation now. Looks like I am. So now you know what to do. All I got to do is move this number away from the variable. So I have to turn its spot into 0. The way I turn its spot into 0 is to do the opposite. The opposite of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to, here's my arrow that tells me to subtract. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I do -1 minus 7, and that leaves me with, you might want your calculator, -8. Awesome. So I'm left with 8v equals -8. All right, last step. I've just got to get that 8 away from the v. I need to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So I divide here by 8. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I divide by 8 over here as well, and I'm left with v equals -1. Awesome. You have a problem that is very similar. Go ahead and pause the video. Try this one on your own. Come back once you've given it a try and to check your work. Alrighty. You should have paused the video, done your work, and you should be coming back now, okay? All right, let's go over it. Box, circle, box, circle. All right. Very similar to up above. Remember, I'm not going to worry about anything on the other side of the equal sign right now. I just want to combine my things that are on the same side of the equal sign to start. So I'm going to start by putting my variables together, 8x, and remember I kept that negative or that minus inside because that tells me that I need to minus 2x. So I've got 8x minus 2x. I only have one constant on this side, so it goes in the box all by itself. And then over here, I still have 88 equals 88, okay? What is 8x minus 2x? Well, if I had 8 apples and I took away 2 of those apples, how many apples would I have left? 6. So I have 6x minus 8 equals 88. Now I'm down to a 2-step equation. I've got 1 variable term, 2 constant terms, and all I need to do now is get this minus 8 away from that x. The way that I turn that minus 8, I've gone down 8. How do I get back up to 0? I got to add. So I'm going to add 8 right here to turn that into 0. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I add 8 over here as well. So I have left for me, oh dear. Sorry. Okay, I have left over here 6x, that's my variable term, equals 88 plus 8 gives me 96. So I've got 96, okay? All right. Oh, I apologize. I think I moved the picture. And I think that threw everything off a little bit. I apologize for that. Okay. In fact, let me see if there's a way for me to undo that. We all make mistakes, including teachers. Okay. All right, so I ended up with, oh, much better. 6x equals, and over here, 96. Fantastic. Okie doke. Last thing I need to do, I need to get that 6 away from the x here, and currently I've got 6 times x, and the way that I get it away from the x is I do the opposite of multiplication, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So I divide by 6. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I do 96 divided by 6. All right, and then all you need to do is write what you are left with. So we've got x equals 96 divided by 6. You put that in your calculator, you get 16. Awesome. Make a text box if you've got any questions. Last one, you guys. All right, this one is challenging. This one, it looks so scary, but guess what? It's not going to be that scary if we separate all of our terms into boxes and circles. Because now I can actually tell what I need to do. That's the first step. Now that I can see that, I can see, okay, all I need to do is combine my variables together and combine my constants together. So I'm going to put my variables over here, and I put my constants right here. And I just have to combine those together. It's not as scary as it looks. It looks very scary. But all I need to do is combine these boxes together to start. So we've got 4x minus 9x, okay? Those two are done. Those are my variables. Now I'm going to put my constants next to each other. This was a positive 12, so we're going to say 12 minus 7 plus 2 equals, and then remember, I'm not going to worry about anything else on this side of the equation. All I'm going to start with is combining my variables and combining my constants. All right, 4x minus 9x. What is 4x minus 9x? Well, if you put that in your calculator or you do it in your head, you should end up with negative 5x. Now I need to combine my constants together. 12 minus 7 plus 2. Nice thing about a calculator is you can just throw that into your calculator. You can also count it out if you would like to. 12 minus 7 gives you 5 plus 2 gives you 7. So you have negative 5x plus 7 equals 32. Okay? All right. Now I'm down to that last part of a two-step. All I need to do is make that positive 7 turn to 0. I need to make it go away and move it over to this side. The way that I do that is I do the opposite of addition, which is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I subtract 7 over here. So I say, okay, what is 32 minus 7? And I end up with 25. And I'm still left with negative 5x over here. All right, I've got my final step to do. I just have to get that negative 5 away from the x. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I divide by negative 5. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I divide by negative 5. So that was my final step, was dividing. 25 divided by -5 gives me -5. So I'm left with x equals -5. All right, take your time. Work hard, work through this last one. Pause the video and come back once you're ready to go over it. All right, you should have paused the video and come back ready to go over this very last one before you guys go and do some practice and take your quizzes. Okay. Box, circle, box. Very careful to keep the sign inside my shape. All right. I've got 3 boxes that I need to combine together, or 3 variables that I need to combine together, and I've got 3 constants that I need to combine together on this side of the equation, or 3 circles. So I'm going to put all my variables in one box over here together. 4x plus 2x. I'm just copying exactly what's in my shapes. Minus 3x. Sorry. Okay. That's all my boxes. Now I'm going to look on this side of the equal sign, still staying on this side of the equal sign, and I'm going to put all my constants inside this box. 22 minus 6 plus 2. Great. Equals, and over here I'm left with 63. So now I just need to combine these like terms together. 4x plus 2x minus 3x. Let's take it one step at a time, so ignore the minus 3x for a second. 4x plus 2x gives me 6x. Then I take 6x and minus 3x, and I get 3x. So that's what I'm left with for my variables, okay? Next, 22 minus 6. 22 minus 6 should give you 16. Then you take your 16 and you add the 2. 16 plus 2 is 18. So I have plus 18 equals, and over here I've got 63. Woo! And just like that, I'm down to a 2-step equation. All I've got to do now is get this x by itself. So I just need to get this plus 18 away from that x. I need to turn it into 0 to move it. And the way I turn it into 0 is to do the opposite of addition, which is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 18. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I do 63 minus 18. And 63 minus 18 gives me 45. So I'm left with 3x equals 45. Very last thing I need to do, all I have to do is get this 3 away from the x. The way that I do that is I just have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So I'm going to divide by 3 over here to turn that into 1. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I divide by 3 over here, and I'm left with x equals 45 divided by 3 gives me 15. If you have any questions, make a text box and write your questions to your teacher if you've got any questions, okay? But that's it, you guys. You did it. Now all you need to do is go and practice IXL. There aren't any links in my slide, but there should be links in your slide, okay? Click on those links and go practice. Try and get to a SMART score of 80 if you can on each practice, or until you feel confident, and then go on and go take the quizzes in Google Classroom. Awesome work today, you guys. Thank you.